Fitness Pro Mentor community, welcome to another show. I'm really excited about this one. Listen, the community is all about helping personal trainers 2 to 3x their personal income so you can have the freedom and the life that you want. And there are people like Brandon's, because Brandon's are just great, that are doing that. And we got today Mr. Brandon O'Connor. Brandon, how you doing today?
I'm great, man. How are you?
I'm doing good. I got another Brandon in the house, so I mean, we got some B power today. If anyone is
all
listening,
about the Brandons.
It's all about the Brandons. Before we jump in, I want to just throw out there, Brandon O'Connor is the co-owner and founder of Muscle Restoration Austin. It's absolutely brilliant business. You've done an incredible job growing that. You got an incredible team. Your branding has super leveled up, and I'm really excited to talk to you. I mean, you're a friend of mine, colleague, faculty member, if you will. I'm super excited about this.
Yeah. Now let's do it.
Cool, man. So the first question is, what muscles did you work out today?
What muscles did I work out today, or what muscles did I work with people on today? I haven't worked out today.
All right, me either. We don't have time for that. We're too busy. Hey, man. So
I'm too busy.
So let's talk about that. So you've done an incredible job. First and foremost, if you're not following Brandon on Instagram, Facebook, and any other medium, please go check them out. But I'd love to ask you first and foremost, I mean, I think you got an incredible business now. You're doing some really advanced stuff. You're teaching stuff. Did you know you've always wanted to be a trainer? Like, was that from the get-go, I want to be a trainer?
I mean, no, not necessarily. I mean, I always, you know, from the time I was in high school, you know, middle of high school, I loved working out. I loved, you know, training my own body. And then I just felt like, hey, I can do this with myself. Maybe I can help other people do it. And, you know, so I don't know if I ever thought about it in terms of like a long-term career when I first started, but that's kind of what it turned into.
Yeah, man. No doubt. Absolutely. And so how did that happen? So you were passionate about exercise, you decided to become a trainer, and it was supposed to be just a part-time gig. How did personal training become this, hey, I'm going to make a full living at this and make a full go?
Yeah, I mean, it's really interesting. You know, I just started off as like a staff trainer at a big box gym in Austin. And I did that for, from the beginning of 2002 till the end of 2007. And I mean, at the time I was just kind of like, you know, it wasn't until I left the big box gym that I thought like, okay, I'm going to really, you know, try to, you know, make a career out of this. And it was really interesting because kind of around the middle of the time that I was at the gym working there, you know, they brought in some people to teach us some education, right? So they brought in NASM and they started, you know, actually teaching us stuff. And it was really weird because Steven and I, the guy that I work with here, Steven Dansvich, we were the only ones that were actually interested in actually learning this stuff. Everybody else just treated it like basically like a chore or torture or whatever, and we just jumped in with both feet. And so he and I started like really deep dive in some of this stuff, and we started going to classes, and we took all the NSM classes, and that led to RTS and MAT and all this other stuff, but that's a little further down the line. But yeah, I mean, so it wasn't until I you know, kind of built up a nice little client base. I kind of felt like, man, these people are pretty loyal, and I left the big box gym and I went and rented space at a training studio, which ironically is right next door to my current space, because I've kind of been in this same complex since 2007.
Awesome.
But yeah, it wasn't until then that I realized that, hey, you know, if I could, you know, really make a serious career out of doing this type of work.
So what was that? Because I think that's you realize you can make a career out of this. I think it's interesting because I know a lot of people, I made a joking post that personal training is really like it's a professional hobby for a lot of people where they're exercise people. They love being in shape, having abs and all this kind of stuff. And then they realize they can make a bit of money. And then some people, I would say like you and I and a few others, realize that you can actually make a little bit more than $30K part-time year. Like you can actually make a career out of this and sustain a household. So what was that shift where you're like, whoa, hold on a second, I can actually make a go?
Well, let me go back in time a little bit more. When this seed got planted in my head was early on, even before the NASM stuff. I had a girlfriend at the time that drugged me to this this Cooper Institute class in Dallas, right? Biomechanics of resistance training, and that was taught by Everett Auberg, who used to be the owner of Telos Fitness Center in Dallas.
I remember that name, yeah.
And he's in the class and he's telling us like the rates that he was charging at the time. This is like 2003, and he was charging, he said, like $150 an hour. I mean, my jaw hit the floor. I was like, I didn't think it was possible that you could charge that much per hour for, like personal training services. So that blew my mind. And so it kind of planted the seed. I'm like, well, wait a second, if this guy can do it and he's got people that are working with him that are doing it, maybe I can do it as well. And so that kind of, at the time when I took that class, I was like, I know everything. I was, blah, blah, blah. I don't need to learn anything. I almost kind of went kicking and screaming, sort of like the staff trainers did at Gold's when we were, put through the NSM stuff. But it was really eye-opening. I mean, not only did I learn a lot about, exercise, to exercise technique and a little bit of very basic level resistance mechanics stuff, but I was like, man, these guys can actually charge, significant amount of money at the time for an hour of service. And so the seed kind of got planted, and the seed that was planted was, well, maybe if I can learn enough, I can charge like that, so that's kind of what put that all in motion for me. It was a seedling that got planted that took a long time to grow to fruition, but it did eventually.
Okay. We got to talk about that. I don't often do this when I'm interviewing people, but I got a story I got to tell you, because you mentioned Telos Fitness Center. So I think you and I have talked. We got some family. I got family in Dallas, and I'm often close to you. I've been close to you a lot. Actually, my grandpa used to live in Dallas, and we were involved. My grandpa was involved with hockey stuff there a lot. And about 12 years ago, I had an opportunity to go have a meeting with the Dallas Stars strength and conditioning team, which I was super excited about, but nervous as heck, because I was really young. I was just teaching RTS. I had a couple chops, but I had this meeting set up, and I was really excited about it. So I went to the Telos Fitness Center. I actually met Everett and a few other people, and I went and worked out to get my energy out. And I was having a great time, great workout, literally finishing the last set. I put the 40-pound dumbbells back on the top rack, and I go to turn around, and then I hear the smack, and I turn around. The dumbbell fell from the rack and broke my big toe on the left side. 1 hour. 1 hour before the meeting.
Oh,
so
no.
We were staying at the Hilton that was attached to the mall right there. And my girlfriend at the time came with me.
At the Galleria.
So we were staying there, and I told her, and she went and bought a pack of dress socks and Band-Aids. And I took my big toe, I wrapped it in 12 Band-Aids, 8 dress socks, and I just limped my way into the meeting. Now, fortunately, the Stars were there, and they were late for getting on a bus, so I could hobble my way through and not look like I was too decrepit. But that sucks, and I still have that pain today. Fun fact.
That's a bummer, dude.
Now, let's go back to this. So back to you, because you mentioned really something interesting, right?
Yeah.
The Everett thing, you hear about the money. Hey, someone you can make $150 an hour. If I learn more and I learn all this amazing stuff, that will translate to me being able to have the career and make the kind of money like Everett and other people did. I went through the same thing where Peter, my mentor in Toronto, was same thing. He was charging like $175 an hour, and my jaw hit the floor when I did the math. He's working this many hours per week and $175. That's crazy. In reality, the experience I had was when I got to that knowledge level, I didn't have the business skills. I thought I would, but I had the knowledge. Did you go through something similar?
Oh, yeah.
Tell me about it, man. Tell me about it.
Yeah. Oh, my gosh. Yeah. I mean, so it was a long haul to actually take, what I do on a day-to-day basis and actually turn it into a real business. And honestly, I needed a lot of help. I'm a decent entrepreneur, but I think that the way entrepreneurship works a lot of times, the best is in tandem and partnership. And so, I mean, we're gonna probably just have to jump ahead and then jump back to wherever you want to go. But jumping ahead many years, like when I decided I wanted to turn this into a real business, my wife was like, well, let's take this entrepreneurial strength finder test and let's see what your entrepreneurial strengths are. And I had quite a few, and then she took it and she had quite a few. And she's like, well, what if I, kind of helped you build this into a real thing, right? Let's create a name, let's create a brand, let's create, marketing, website, all this, right? And so, again, we're kind of jumping into the present, but now I have a whole team, right? I've got her, she does, she helped to build all the branding, the website, designed our original website. We hired somebody to design our current website, which turned out amazing, but she did all the branding. She wrote all the content for the website. I've got a person that that works part-time for me that does all my social media. I mean, so I've her name's Angie, and she's amazing. She's a great client, and she's a great friend and team member with us. And so, I've got a lot of help. I had to have a lot of help to actually take my skill set and build it into a real business, a real company. So it wasn't just I didn't do it by myself. And some people can do that. Some people have a ton of entrepreneurial talent. They can just take this and build it into a business. But a lot of people need help. And that's why I think what you're doing with this Fitness Pro Mentors thing and this, way that you're kind of teaching trainers how to take their skill set and actually build it into a real business is really powerful, because, a lot of people don't have those skills and they need a lot of help to get to this point.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate you saying that. And that's where I'm really excited about this podcast, interviewing people like you and former guests, because there for a long time, I would say our community has had small bits of some business skill that you could learn. Greg Mack teaches incredible sales stuff. I remember Tom taught the Missing Link course. And I don't know if you took that one, but that was like a professional development smack. He did a great job where he talked about like just intra-session professionalism. No one had talked about those. And there's a big hole, I think, for a lot of these trainers that are coming up that you and we had to just kind of figure out. And peers of ours, as you know, that are brilliant, some just fell away to the wayside because they didn't learn, they learned some sales, great. They learned some amazing technical stuff, really, really good. But they couldn't figure out some of the small business things, accounting and whatever it may be. So that's great. I love that you got a team, and I really want to dive into that with the entrepreneurial test that you did. I'm just curious, what strengths did you have when you took that test? Like, what did it say, the things you were really good at? Do you remember?
It's been so long. So there's 10 strengths. And if you have all 10, that's the kind of person like Elon Musk or, Richard Branson, these types of people that can literally by themselves build and scale an entire company.
Yeah.
Right. Most people do not have that. That's super, super, super rare. So that's why most of the time, great businesses, actually, you have to have a partner, because a lot of times your partner will have some of the entrepreneurial strengths that are kind of in your blind spot. I know for a fact that one of my strengths is I'm really, really good at risk assessment. So I know how to look at something and decide whether or not it's going to be a strategic, risk that's going to make a lot of sense or not. I have business focus, which just means that, I'm just really good at getting down to the nitty gritty and figuring out how to make something profitable. But again, it's been so long since I've taken it, I can't remember them, but it was really weird because my wife has almost all the ones that I don't have. And that's part of the reason why we make such a good team together.
Yeah.
Right. In regards to creating the strategy around, building a relatively, successful small business.
What I think is brilliant that you and Shannon have come together to do that, because I think you and I both know multiple people that have created partnerships together with people who have similar skill sets, similar visions, and it's great that you have that, but you're really just splitting the costs on a business, and you're bound to have some level of conflict or challenge because if you have the same strengths and So it's great when you can find someone that has, and in your case, your wife, which is just absolutely brilliant, who's complementing skills. You're really getting into a true partnership where it's not like you have the talent, if you will, but then you have the marketing department, then you have the accounting department, and you have all these machines that are working together to create an emergent, amazing thing. So it's fantastic. Question, it's lucky that Shannon, your wife is your partner. Do you think if you were to go down starting all over again and you didn't have Shannon in your world, would you still seek out a partner that had adjacent skill sets?
If I had to do it all from scratch, yeah, probably.
Yeah.
Just because I know that, part of it is just that I'm so focused on the technical side of just trying to work with people and get people feeling better and stuff that, I just don't have the bandwidth to do all the other nitty gritty stuff that needs to be done in order to make a business really, really successful. So, yeah, I probably would, try to find, somebody that, I probably, if I had all the information I have in my head now, and I was thinking about partnering with somebody, I'd want them to take that entrepreneurial strength finder test as well, like Shannon and I did, and figure out, if our strengths were complementary, in order to do it again. Because I personally just don't feel like I could have built the business I have currently without that. It's just, there's just so much that goes into it on a day-to-day basis that in my opinion, most people are going to need some serious help.
I love it. And I think, delegating responsibilities so multiple people can take over to help something grow, I think it's brilliant. What is a particular skill and or trait that Shannon brings to the table that's helped your business grow so fast?
Strategy. She's amazing at strategy, marketing language. Like I said, she wrote our entire website. She knows how to take what we do, this kind of very complex systems thinking stuff that we do to help people on a day-to-day basis, and put it in language that makes everything work better. I mean, she does that. She runs the schedule for two full-time people and one fixing to be full-time person. So she knows how to organize and manage the clients. I mean, so there's just a lot of, these are things that I just don't have time to do this stuff, and she's brilliant at it, and she's brilliant at strategic business thinking and, and marketing and all that as well.
So I got to say that one thing I've noticed, because I watch for this stuff, is I've noticed over the last year and a half or 2 years, a really gigantic shift in your branding and your presence online. Your website, your photos, the flavor of your photos, all that. To be honest, I was going to save this till the end, but you brought this up. It's such a huge difference. And I saw that the photos you were putting up were a lot similar to mine. They were nice photos, but they were photos, had some headshots of you and Steven, but it was a lot of pictures of machines, the gym you were at, and that kind of stuff. And now you've got a much more vibrant flavor. There's a clear tone. There's a lot more color. There's a lot more energy, colorful pink-haired people in the pictures. Like, it's really like an incredible shift. And I'm just wondering what inspired that shift, if you don't mind me asking.
Well, it was just, we wanted to kind of take the vibe that we're trying to create here in this office on a day-to-day basis and put it out there on social media and stuff. And so that people could kind of get like you said, a flavor or a feel for who we are and what we do. So that's all Angie and Shannon kind of planning that out. We have multiple meetings per year where we plan out our entire social media concepts and posts for prolonged periods of time.
That's awesome.
And so, part of when Shannon and I were designing this business, we wanted people to understand that, we do serious work, but we don't take ourselves too seriously. We like to have fun. We like to have positive energy. We try to create this kind of real specific kind of family environment here. We want our clients to kind of feel like they're kind of part of our family. We want our team, me and Steven and Mel and Shannon, we all kind of just, and Angie, we're all kind of just very bonded, and we kind of try to create this family vibe. And so we wanted that to kind of come across on our social media, so people could get this idea of like, hey, we're serious thinkers, we do serious work, but at the same time, we kind of have a playful energy in the office. We like to have a good time, as we're trying to help people recover, get better, get fit, whatever their goals are.
That's awesome. Now, have you found that shift with the more playfulness and the color, have you guys been able to translate that and see the metric shift where you're getting more people, higher quality leads or something like that?
Yeah, especially on our website. And once again, with the website, we hired an awesome SEO company that's really, managing and doing all their, I'm going to give them a shout out. They're called Clapping Dog Media. They're awesome.
Clapping Dog Media.
But they and so they're measuring a lot of our metrics and stuff about who's coming to our website, how long they're staying on it, all that kind of stuff. And they're having, a couple meetings a month with Shannon to kind of give us back that data and that feedback. We're already starting to see some additional leads and stuff start to come in from that optimization that we created. And then on the social media side, because of the work that Angie's done, we're getting much better engagement, with specific posts, and we're trying to create specific posts that mimic that engagement level for sure.
That's awesome. Now, I know I'm sure you guys have thought about this because of how much energy you're putting in. If you don't mind me asking, like, what are the client demographic and psychotypes you guys are going for? Psychographics, not psychotypes.
Yeah, most of our clients are, I'd say between the ages of 40 and 70. Okay. These are what we're typically looking for are people that, that just really value health and well-being, right? And they really, if they've got, chronic issues and problems in their body, they really want to get those issues resolved. We want people that are really interested in participating in exercise long-term and that value that as part of their lifestyle. Yeah, so I mean, those are kind of the types of people that we're targeting, men and women in that primarily in that age demographic that, just have a commitment to living a better lifestyle, feeling better, or maintaining the lifestyle that they have. And we always say one of our taglines is we want to help people lead the life they love. And, so if they're, if they've been, if they have an activity that they can't participate in or whatever anymore, we want to try to get them to be able to do that, even, obviously even stuff that goes outside of what we're trying to do here at the office.
I love it. I love it. I got a question about that, but before we do, it kind of comes back to the business name, muscle restoration. How'd you come up with that? That's cool. It's sharp.
Yeah, so we were, yeah, so it was just, Shannon and I was just brainstorming one night. I was, kind of going back through my history, like I was, a guy renting space at a gym, and then I had rented space at a gym, and then I had an office above the gym where I would do, the, kind of table-based stuff. And then I had a smaller space, and I've got a relatively decent sized space now. And so as I was trying to grow and I was trying to create like a business around this, we just sat around one night and we're like, well, what are you trying to do? And I was like, well, I'm trying to, one of the things we say all the time is we want to try to restore people back to factory settings, right? We want to try to get people back as close as we can to factory settings. So I was like, restore, restoration, and then muscle restoration, and then it was Austin muscle restoration, right? Because of because we want people to understand, that we're local here to the community and stuff. So that's kind of how the name came about.
When you say factory settings, I instantly think of my children running around the house because that's pretty factory settings. But I know what you mean for sure. The default not hurting.
No, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I know. It's like get back to where, where we started. Because life is gonna beat the crap out of us over time, and and if we can get the body is operating near childhood factory settings, if we can, if that's even possible, then that's ideal, right?
I'll get home, I'll see Max will be like, factory settings, good job, buddy. So this leads into a question, and I would love to ask your thoughts on it, because I'll tell you, it's the way you've taken this, like taking your name and your branding is a little different than what we've done, but you've been really successful with it. But we tried that here and it didn't work super well. So I definitely leaned hard, as you know, between learning muscle activation techniques at times, and then the Tom Purvis stuff, and then learning some incredible stuff from Greg Mack, and exploring post-activation and all this, whatever, there's so much stuff. I was trying to figure out, how do I differentiate myself from personal trainers? And I've jokingly said in sales copy posts how many different titles I've had for myself. And I've leaned back towards the fitness professional personal trainer, only because I find that when someone comes in, they have a preconceived idea of the type of that we're trainers, but we're the expert trainers in our facility, in our town. We can get, reoccurring revenue models going a little bit better. We can get those higher rates because we differentiate from the other trainers in our town. It lets me charge double compared to them. And then we lean into some of the more muscle knowledge stuff, which just helps to build us, the whole Columbo model. It's worked really well. You've got you're doing the whole muscle doctor, muscle restoration thing. And I'm wondering, I know you're in Austin. It's very competitive there. I'm wondering, is that choice deliberate to stay away from the trainer stuff? I'd love to just hear how you're thinking about it.
Well, we still think of ourselves as trainers. When people ask what we're doing with them, I always say this is just, exercise, and it can be on the very easy effort, kind of acute, PAP, post-activation potentiation side of it, or it can be more gross for, reinforcing that or just building a general degree of fitness. But yeah, we found that differentiation has actually been very powerful for us. I think once people kind of get in the door and they meet us and they go through our evaluation process here, which I'm sure is similar to what you guys are doing there, they get it right away, and they understand that the foundation of what we're doing is still just exercise, but for whatever reason, that differentiation has really seemed to help with our getting a lot more clients in.
Well, you're in Texas, man. Got to have the larger, bigger titles, man. Yeah, no,
right on. It's not that we're trying to, I guess it's for example, we work next door to a traditional fitness gym, and And people are always like, what do they do over there? And I'm like, well, they do similar things, some of the similar things that what we do over here, but the way that we, prescribe um, and create exercise is just, it's just different. It's on another level. Right.
Well, and that's
So,
interesting. I'd love to ask your thoughts on this because I think about this way too much, and I still don't have the answer. My only answer is just work harder. But you're next door to, like, forgetting about what titles, right? You are an awesome exercise professional, and then the next door neighbors, you got the stereotypical whistleblowing coach. How do you think we differentiate ourselves from whistleblowing, camo wearing, tank top wearing, 15 people in a room for $60 an hour personal trainers? Because that's the problem is you go talk to, I don't know about for you, forever I tell my family members I was a personal trainer and they're like, oh yeah, I can see you work out. That makes sense. Yeah. And they were just kind of stereotyping me. And then when they came to the gym that I opened and they saw we have a very similar style that it helped us differentiate that. So in your opinion, the trainer that you are versus, saying this very politely, the trainers that are next door, how do we differentiate ourselves?
well, honestly, more than anything else, okay, so let's throw out the technical skills for a second, right? I mean, if you've been through, Purvis's stuff and Mac stuff and MAT and all this stuff, I mean, you're going to have just a much greater degree of technical skill than, I would say than the average, trainer that's just kind of maybe doing this work part time or just. I think that the main thing that differentiates it is client interaction. I think that the way you interact with somebody is what can really differentiate you, right? The questions you ask, right? The focus that you give the person during the session, right? The way you react to the person emotionally, we talk a lot about on our website about compassion, right? Or staying focused on what that person's vision is for their health and their life, and not trying to apply my own personal bias into it. If they have a goal to do something extreme, we try to help them do it within reason, right? If their goal is just to, walk better or to play with their kids, we try to make that happen. But we always stay on top of that interaction, right? Making sure that that person is getting 1,000% of our focus at all times, and that they're being heard and seen, and understood, right? Instead of just like, let's just get you in here and get you moving. It's like, no. We got to get a little bit into your psychology. What do you, like Greg Mack always talks about these fundamental objectives. What do we really want to get out of this, right? What are we trying to do here, right? So I think that is something that can massively differentiate you beyond your technical skills, is just how you communicate and interact and with somebody, and how you design something that's built for them and their goals and their needs versus just doing something blanketly just to get somebody's body to move a little bit more, whatever.
Incredible. Yeah. No, I love it. I couldn't agree more. So listen, man, you've been doing this for a while. You've been entrepreneuring for a long time. I like to ask, and I'd love to hear your thoughts, what is like the biggest aha moment that you had as an entrepreneur?
Oh boy, that's a loaded question. Just, I think the biggest aha moment was that I needed help to do this properly, right? Um, it's like if you, if you, and again, this has to be within reason, within, your budget or whatever of what you're trying to do with your business. But it's like, if you need something, if you need to see something wrong with your skin, you go see a dermatologist. If there's something wrong, with anything, you go see a specialized doctor, right? And so it's like, to me, it's like the biggest aha moment was, I needed partnership to get this done right, and B, it's okay to ask for help and to hire people that are better at specific skills, right? Like, I mean, sometimes it's better to try to delegate some of this stuff than to try to figure it all out on your own, right? And it's okay to go and try to learn from other people who know more about this stuff than you do, and try to figure out what they're doing, and maybe you can create some duplication around what they're doing. I mean, so that was the biggest aha for me, was like, yeah, you want to build a business that's sustainable. you're going to probably need a team at some point, and if a team just means a mentor or a coach initially, right, just to teach you some viable skills about business building and about client interaction, sales, like some of the stuff that like Greg Mack teaches in the client, the muscle system specialist program. I mean, that stuff right there just is so powerful in and of itself, just to help people to, get a foot in the door of how to start to build a system that they can work off of. Right. But my biggest thing is don't ever be afraid to try to get people working with you that can do more and know more about specific things, because if you got all the technical skills in the world, but you don't have, the marketing, website, client interaction stuff down, you're not going to get where you want to go.
I couldn't agree more. I mean, I think putting aside, money, everyone needs money. And I'll tell you, if you invest a good amount of money into something, it might seem like a lot of money to invest into something for 12 weeks or 6 months or a website with a high amount of SEO, but the ROI that you get from that is incredible. And it's hard to see that, but when you spend a year working on your website SEO on your own, and you spend weeks, months, a year, all this time, and then you get to the end of it and it's okay, but then you realize you could have paid someone and been hands-free of it and could have been reaping the benefit of it for the 11 months that you spent working on it. It's just a game changer. If you don't mind me asking,
well, you get one. Yeah, I was just gonna follow that up. I mean, you get one or two really great clients, long-term clients, off of paying for SEO optimization. You're gonna pay for it right away. I mean, let me give you an example. Like we had the worst timing ever because we paid for a whole bunch of Facebook ads during right before COVID hit.
Oh no!
We put these videos and it was but we even from those ads, we got a couple clients that stuck with us long enough that they paid for the cost of the ads, and they got helped. And so everybody won in that situation. Right. So you think about it as like this big upfront cost, but the ROI on it can be dramatic. I mean, you can end up with, people that could end up being with you for life. I've got a really good story about this. If you want to, yeah. I got a good story. I can give Greg Mack some props off this, about the ROI of learning stuff. So this is a really cool one. So you remember how he teaches that 30-second commercial thing?
Yep.
So I don't like to talk to strangers. I'm not going to lie. But about 10 years ago, I was at a Whole Foods, and I just was like, I just had gone through another one of these classes with Greg where we hammered down on this stuff, and I'm like, oh God, all right, I'm just going to try it. And so like I'm standing at the meat counter with this woman, and we're buying the same thing. And so I just, oh, you like grass-fed beef? She's like, yeah, I like grass-fed beef. And so we struck up a conversation. The next thing you know, we're talking for about 10 minutes, and she's telling me, I don't know how it came up, that she had chronic neck pain. I was like, oh, wow, really, you have chronic neck pain? And I was like, I did the little thing. Well, listen, I got this thing where I help people like you that have chronic neck pain, that are frustrated and can't seem to recover. And so she's like, wow, what do you do? And I just kind of told her a little bit, I don't want to come in for a consult. She comes in for a consult. That goes great. She comes in for the eval. That goes great. She becomes a client, right? Well, we get her fixed up, right? We get her neck pain cleared up, and she's like, this was the greatest thing that's ever happened. I can't believe this, right? So she starts referring me people, right? Brandon, I shit you not. I've literally, off of that one person, that one client, that 30-second commercial, I've probably gotten 20 clients off of her tree. I still have clients. This was 10 years ago. I still have clients I see consistently that are from her tree.
Yeah.
Of people. And I mean, it's insane. So it was just, that didn't even cost anything other than just, other than me just trying to be, have to be a little bit brave to talk to a stranger in the grocery store. But yeah, I mean, that little 30-second commercial led to, I couldn't even count how much money.
But the proof of concept, that proof of concept right there is perfect though. Like that, I don't know. how you think about it, but I used to think a lot that marketing was just, put something out there and then people will come to you and then you do your thing and you buy my thing and then they come in. But it's that outbound outreach, like taking that genuine nurturing approach to get out there. I mean, part of one of our mentorship presentations, I talk about that this business has over $120,000 of reoccurring revenue each year from only one type of outreach that I did for years and years and years and years. And we drew people in, and collectively, there's a majority of the business that is still here and over 6 figures of revenue every year from that initiative. But I went out there and I went into the trenches and I did this and then I did this and then I donated this time and I gave away $1,000 a time every single time, but it turned into something bigger. So then here, okay. So now you don't like talking to strangers. You talk to a stranger. You made a bunch of money. Bought yourself a Lamborghini, flying around private jets now, right? Awesome. Okay. So, but now you have that proof of concept. Now, how are you thinking about talking to strangers now after that amazing experience 10 years ago?
I don't really get much opportunity to talk to strangers, to tell you the truth. Right?
Fair enough.
I don't go to the grocery store anymore. I just don't do much of that anymore. But I think that there's something really important about that interaction that somebody could take away from, going back to what I was saying about kind of our proof of concept in regards to how we interact with clients, is like that person felt heard when I sat there and I listened to her tell me about what she was dealing with, right? And she kept telling me, the people were telling her, I just have to live with this. No one can help me, so that compassion that I gave her, a stranger, without knowing much about her right up front, made her feel comfortable. And, and again, the work that we did helped. And I just think that that's a real important thing. And, for people to not be afraid to do that, because sometimes you'll meet somebody that, or like what you did, you'll give away a lot of time, but it'll pay off in the end.
I mean, I think this is where, like you guys are doing, you just have to make sure that you're tracking your data, because if you realize, hey, I'm giving away a bunch of time, but this time turned into a 10x investment or a 10x income. I mean, that's absolutely incredible. I love that, man. Cool. That's an incredible story. Thanks. And I hope you're sharing that with every one of your teammates, because I think that's just absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, I've told a lot of people about that. I don't know if I can't remember if I ever told Greg Mack about that or not. I'm gonna see him next week. If I didn't, I'll have to tell him. I probably did at some point.
I won't lie. I'm gonna soundbite that one and use it for social media, because that's a really good one. So I'll share it when I do, for sure.
Okay, cool.
So another entrepreneurial question, right? So we did the aha moment.
Yeah.
What would you say the biggest hurdle is that you've had to overcome as an entrepreneur in the fitness landscape?
It's just hard to especially when you're starting out. It's just hard, and it's honestly, I don't even know how I did it for a lot of years. It's just hard to sustain people. I mean, if you don't have new people kind of coming in all the time, I mean, obviously you have some people that'll become more long term and that'll stick, and they'll go on a long term program with you. But a lot of times if you don't have new people coming in all the time, it's just tricky. So I mean, the biggest hurdle I had initially was, how do I just get more in front of more people? Because I mean, what we find now, if somebody comes into the office and they come in for an evaluation, it's 95% of the time they come back and become a client. I mean, it's very rare that somebody comes in for an evaluation now where they don't come back. I mean, so that's one. And let me tell you the other one that I think is really important, because I was just talking to another professional about this today, and I think this is something that everybody needs to do eventually. You need to have systems. Everything needs to be a system, and you especially need to have systems for client parameters. So what I mean by that is like, we have extensive paperwork that we make people sign that has all of our policies and our procedures, all of our expectations, our cancellation policy. Everything is done up front. And we give it to them digitally, and Shannon designed all of this. We give them it digitally, and then we give it to them again physically, and then we go over it verbally, right? And so because we've got these specific systems in place, right, one of the biggest struggles I had for a long time was people taking advantage, canceling last minute, excuses, this and that, asking for discounts, like none of that. That's all gone now because we have systems, right? And because we have this extensive paperwork. And so because of all that, not only is our client retention better, but our, we've basically removed all these, these constant, you know, all this constant drama that was going on in the business and people trying to take advantage. I mean, we just have basically removed that. So that was one of the most difficult things I was dealing with for a long time, was just not having really, really, really strict systems in place for the clients and the parameters that we create for them. And honestly, they feel more comfortable once they've gone through all that and they understand the rules and everything much better than it's just much easier just to move forward.
Well, Glenn and I did a Minds on Muscle podcast episode calling Retention Starts on the First Date. And I think that's perfect, because honestly, if you want to keep somebody indefinitely, I think everyone should be thinking that way. If you set, when they're all excited and everything's glowing because you did all this incredible new stuff with them and they're like, oh my gosh, Brandon O'Connor is absolutely incredible. You set those guidelines out there, they're going to listen and they'll respond and they'll sign and they'll be happy to do it, because it always goes that way. They ghost you, they cancel once, they cancel twice. I don't want to say always, but a lot of the time. And if you've preloaded that conversation with the expectations, it's just brilliant. And I mean, Greg Mack introduced that idea to me for sure. That helped me get past some of those. And then we've exploded it here at Strata as well, much like you guys have, that have just really helped us to have a much higher retention rate. It's so simple, but it's so powerful.
So simple, but it's not, because the language that you need to put into these documents is not simple. I mean, we've had to redo them multiple times, because every now and again some crazy situation will come up where there was something we hadn't thought of that wasn't in the paperwork, and so we have to pivot it and redo it. We've probably done that 5 times, but lately we've kind of got it down to a science now. And so I mean, we've got really, really, really specific systems in place with our calendar system and our paperwork. And I mean, just everything is just very, very, very systematized, which is awesome. It makes things much easier on everybody.
You just put something comedic at the very end. Like if you sneeze on a Tuesday after 2:00, you have to clap 3 times and spin. Like something just to get people to crack. That's great though. No, I think that's powerful.
Right.
And I think what you're talking about is really elevating the professionalism of this whole thing. Like people come into your place and they're like, yeah, we're personal trainers. And then you talk about that stuff. It just elevates the whole thing so much more.
Right. Yeah. And that's another thing that differentiates you, right? I mean, like, you come in here and you go through this very detailed evaluation process and you sign extensive paperwork. They know, and then you also sit and you listen, right? Which I think is super important. Sit and listen and take detailed notes, and I also take a lot of detailed notes. I get all the client history stuff online up front. I make detailed notes before they come in. So I've got questions I can ask, about specific things in their history. And we have a big conversation and we get real specific about those fundamental objectives, and so, I mean, all that, having all that up front, I mean, and then, the way your website looks, the branding, everything. I mean, so now you're coming in and the person's already thinking, I'm coming into a much more professional situation, right?
Yeah.
And just like, hey dude, can I come in and work out? It's just, there's nothing wrong with that. I did that for years, but I'm just saying, like, it's when you have all these systems in place and everything's tied together with your branding and your marketing, your logo and everything else, somebody comes in and like, wow, this is a 5-star experience, before I even walk in the door.
Yes. And it makes an impression. It anchors for sure. I love it. I got one more big question for you, and I think that'll be a good place to put a pin into today. Teaching, right? So when I was young, and I mean young, I younger than I like to admit, but when I was 24, I started teaching for RTS, and I thought that I, hit pay dirt, that was going to be the it. As soon as I start teaching, I'm going to suddenly get all these great clients, and it didn't happen. And then I opened this business, and I paused teaching for a while because I realized that I couldn't grow an education company at the same time as growing my in-person practice and helping these trainers grow. It was just 2 totally different animals. And then exercise professional education, getting involved with that. You and I are both involved with that. Love it. Greg Mack has done some really incredible stuff. And for me, I have found at the beginning of my career, being a teacher hindered the development of my personal training business. Later in the career, being an educator has really helped my business once I'm more established and the heels are dug in. I'm wondering, in your veteranism as a trainer, so to speak, I don't know if veteranism is a word, but we're going to go with it anyway. But as a veteran trainer and now being an educator, I'm just wondering, how have you found that transition into a new role, so to speak? I mean, relatively new for you, because it's been a few years now, but then, and how does it affect your business?
I mean, honestly, It's affected my business in the sense that like the teaching is helping me. Like, for example, I've got a new person who just went through muscle system specialist, and I'm helping develop her, right?
Mm-hmm.
So like that's another thing. Like, that's a we do a lot of shadowing, and I work with her a lot, and so, and because I'm trying to develop her, to really be able to do this work and to really help people and stuff, so it's definitely helping that end of it, right? Like kind of having to teach classes and then be able to come back in and work with somebody one-on-one and be able to kind of explain and teach. But in regards to like just how it's affected the business day to day, I mean, a lot of my clients know that I teach, for Exercise Pro Ed and stuff, but it hasn't affected it that much, other than that it's good for me in the sense that it just energizes me. I really like teaching. I just really enjoy the process of, helping other people learn. And I'm really enjoying the process of helping Mel, my new person, kind of just, really, it's kind of fun to see it, we're all white belts, right? But to see it through, through somebody's eyes, it's just kind of like seeing all this stuff for the first time. It's just kind of energizing, exciting to see it through that perspective, because when you've been doing something for so long, it just kind of becomes day to day, right? And have them see some stuff and see some things you can do. They think it's pretty cool.
And yeah, I think you accidentally get desensitized to it when you do it for so long. You forget, oh yeah, I went through that.
You
phase.
do.
Yeah.
Yeah, you totally, you do totally desensitize, and you forget how hard it was to learn it all. Sometimes, you can kind of remember, but it's been a long time. And so you kind of forget, and you got to go, oh yeah, I remember I freaked out on the first day of the MAT internship and thought I could never do this ever, or when the first time I went to an RTS weekend, I was like, how am I ever going to understand any of this stuff, but then you do. It just, repetition's the mother of all learning, right?
That's right.
As they like to say.
Hey, I got a random question. How old's Steven?
Steven is 65 years old.
I freaking saw that. I couldn't believe it. I saw a post like that. I'm like, there's no way. He looks Please tell him for me. He looks ridiculously good.
No, he takes he's working out constantly, takes amazing care of himself. And, he is an RTS Jedi, that dude. He just, man, he gets this stuff like you wouldn't believe. He does an amazing job here. I mean, he's got really complex clients. He's got multiple people, multiple stroke victims that he works with. And, my most sensitive people, when I'm ready to kind of progress them to more, more gym stuff, I always give them to him, because he's so good at microdosing exercise with the people on the sensitive end of the spectrum. I value him so much. In fact, I value him so much, I actually hired him to train me a couple times a week, because I won't get in there and work out if otherwise, because I'm in here working with people all day, and I just don't have the discipline to do it on my own. So I'm just let him, RTS the crap out of me a couple times a week. And that's been amazing. It's changed my body dramatically. So, well, yeah, he's really awesome.
Well, anybody who's listening to this, go check out Brandon's website, because Steven is someone who I definitely thought was like 45 on the top end. And then I saw that post of his birthday a while ago or something.
Yeah.
I was like, no, this can't be right. That's incredible.
Yeah, he's 65, man, but he's a workhorse. He loves it. So
cool. Well, Brandon, I gotta say thank you so much for your time. I mean, this has
been a lot of fun.
This is kind of like a broad question, but do you have any words of wisdom to any level entrepreneur that's listening to this for the Fitness Pro Mentor community?
Learn as much as you can, because you got to have technical skills, right? Work on your people skills. You got to be able to interact with people and make people feel understood and heard. If you need help on the business end, don't be afraid to ask for it. Seek out people like yourself and Greg Mack that teach this, this business-based business building stuff for fitness professionals, because it's really powerful stuff. And if you need one, if you can find the right person that makes to partner with, and it makes sense for you, both of you, then, there's nothing wrong with that too.
And anyone who's listening to this, there's an episode I did with Johnny and Michelle of Precision Human Performance, where they are business partners with different skill sets, both trainers. And I would definitely encourage you to go check that episode as well, because they speak to that as well. If you're ever considering partnership, I'll tell you, if anyone wants to ask me, I went solo, and I would love to have had a partner, but there wasn't anyone in my world at that time. But Brandon and you and Shannon, that's brilliant. Michelle and Johnny, that's great. Brandon, man, thank you so much. And where can people find more about you?
You can find us at our website, austinmusclerestoration.com, our Instagram at Austin Muscle Restoration. We're at Austin Muscle Restoration on Facebook. So that's where you can find us.
Consistency is key. All right, Brandon. Thanks so much, man.
You bet, Brandon. I loved it. Great times.
We'll do it again, I promise.
All right. Sounds good.